The Museum of Contemporary Art Denver presents Practicing Citizenship, a conversation series featuring artists, activists, and experts exploring civic engagement. Tonight, we bring you a conversation about conversation, an active listening workshop. And now, here's Sarah Bai, MCA Denver's Director of Programming.
Hello, everyone. It's nice to see you. Let's see, I'm going to try to pin my video here. We'll see if this works. And there we go. Hello, thank you all for being here. I am Sarah Bai. I'm the Director of Programming at MCA, and this is Practicing Citizenship, which is a program series that we are producing in conjunction with the exhibition Citizenship, a Practice of Society, which is on view now at MCA Denver. And we come to you live every Wednesday night throughout the run of the exhibition with a different program. And tonight we are presenting a conversation about conversation, which is an active listening workshop. And I'm joined tonight by Pippi Kessler, who is an independent consultant who will facilitate this workshop. And I'll introduce her in a moment, but first I'm going to take a moment to talk about Laura Shill's work. This workshop was inspired by a work in our current exhibition by the artist Laura Shill. She's a Denver artist. And her installation is called Including the Other in the Self. And it's a room installed so that two visitors can sit and have a conversation using a set of questions the New York Times published in a 2015 article called The 36 Questions That Lead to Love. And this workshop is a continuation of Laura Shill's work. We've hoped that it will facilitate conversation, dialogue, and be a tool to build empathy. We're honored to present this conversation, and we're really glad that you're here and that you can tune in. However, it takes a lot to bring you all the fabulous programming that we're offering. At least I think it's fabulous. And so I'm going to share in the chat right now a link. If you have the means, please consider donating to support MCA Denver. We suggest a donation of $10, which is what we would ordinarily charge for tickets and 4 times, but of course, any amount helps. All right, and now it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker for tonight, Pippi Kessler. Pippi is a nationally recognized organizational psychologist. She's a facilitator, a trainer, and a leadership coach, and she's trained thousands of people at nonprofits, universities, schools, and activist groups across the country. Her coaching draws on ethical leadership techniques, systems theory, and social psychologist research to help people translate their principles into concrete practices and behaviors and work towards building a life and a work life that they love and feel proud of. As questions come up throughout the talk today, you can type them in the chat or save them for the end. As always, we want to hear your voice and we want to make this community a welcome space for conversation. So we ask that you be respectful in the comments. And with that, I turn it over to Pippi.
Hi, everybody. It's really great to meet you all. Thank you, Sarah. Sarah, I'm going to turn over the waiting room. It's really fun to watch everybody come in.
Yeah, it is.
It's so fun to get to come through the internet to Denver, which is a place where I wish I could be in person right now, and to get to meet all of you. Also, I didn't get to go to Laura Shill's, to see Laura Shill's work, but it sounded so great. I loved the 36 Questions article when it came out, and I thought that was so great that she made a piece about it. Did anybody get to go participate in it? Just wave your hands or say in the chat if you actually got to go. And then if you want to, feel free to put in the chat anything that you remembered from getting to participate in the piece, just to share with all of us. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to be showing slides throughout. Once I share my screen and start the PowerPoint, I won't be able to see all your faces as easily in the grid. But if you want to get my attention, or if you have a question, feel free to chat Sarah, and she can help get my attention. And you can also use the chat to speak up if there's something on your mind. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. can all see okay. So as Sarah said, I'm Pippi Kessler. I'm today calling from Brooklyn, New York. Oh, I also want to just thank Zoe Larkins, who brought me in to do this and who I met many years ago and who also curated the exhibition. It was really great to get to be connected to it in this way. So today we're going to talk a little bit about why we're doing this workshop. Then we're just going to jump in. I'm going to teach some techniques. We're going to practice them. I'm going to talk about diagnosing problems or what to do if you're having trouble listening. Then we'll do a little action planning. We'll end by 6:30, and then I will go to bed. It will be 8:30 EST for me. Let's see, why isn't the slide? Got to click on it. So just a few announcements. One, again, if you have a tech question, use the chat to write to Sarah Bai and she can help you out. The second is that later on in the workshop, we're going to spend some time in breakout rooms doing an exercise. If for any reason you don't want to do that, if you don't want to be in a room with strangers, if you need to bang pots and pans and don't want to deal, just put a little asterisk next to your name. The way that you do that is go in your box and click on the 3 dots, and there's an option to rename, and just put an asterisk in front of your name, and that will tell Sarah, don't put me in a breakout room. If you forget, when you get asked to join the breakout rooms, you can just not go into them. That's fine too. If you do want to participate, when it's time for that exercise, just turn your camera and sound on once you get in the breakout room so your group can hear you. So why are we talking about listening? I have to say, I was really delighted when I heard that MCA Denver was doing this series of community events in conjunction with the exhibition. I thought, this place is really amazing. And when I saw what the other events were, I thought it was really great. There are probably some people on the call today who have gone to a lot of events, and other people where it's your first time. I also see some people that I know from all around the country who are here, which is so sweet. My parents-in-law are here from Madison, Wisconsin, which is such a treat. Abby Davis is here, I see. I see Jess here, I think from Minnesota. So it's just so special. It's one of the kind of unexpected parts of COVID that sometimes we get a chance to all meet in unusual places. There's one thing though that I feel ties everybody together who's on the call today, which is that for some reason you signed up for this. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of different things to do. Lots of people have to be on Zoom a lot during the day. And for some reason, everybody who's here, just when you saw a conversation about conversation, you decided that you want to sign up. And I don't actually know why you did. So probably some of you want to learn some techniques for your relationships and other people. There are things about society that you wish you could change, and maybe other people were just curious. If you're willing, I'd love if you'd put in the chat why you signed up for this. What was interesting you about it? Oh, and I see now in the chat some people said, oh, this is great. I love getting to hear about what the piece was like, learning more about a new relationship. That's so great. And Bev was saying after Laura's piece, taking the sheets home. So why did you sign up for this workshop? Write in the chat if you're comfortable. Oh, getting the feedback of sometimes going into your own world while you're listening to clients as a financial advisor, becoming a clergy person, that's awesome. Being a better parent, improving relationships. Yeah, feeling isolated during COVID, learning new tools, a refresher course to be more effective, to mediate. Oh, to listen better on social media. Wow, working with hospice patients. Oh, this is so great. Thank you for sharing this. So every person here has their own reason of why you would want to sign up for a workshop that's about human connection. I would love actually to just go to that workshop just to hear about what's on everybody's mind. And I also want to share for me why I do this work, around listening and connection. The reason that I do this work is because I believe in the concept of inherent value, which is the idea that people are just valuable from the second that they're born in a way that would never decrease if they got a bad haircut or were bad at trombone, and also would never increase even if they got a good haircut or were good at trombone or made a lot of money. And also that isn't tied to their racial identity, sexual identity, gender identity, or anything else. So, this is a really friendly sounding value, inherent value, but there's a really big problem with it, which is, well, how the heck are you supposed to act that out? How are you supposed to live that idea if you're eating dinner with your family or you're talking to your coworkers? And part of what's hard about it is it's abstract. And it can be really hard to figure out how we translate our abstract principles into our daily life. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about some techniques that can help you translate this abstract principle of conferring value to people into your daily life. And to do that, we're going to talk about a set of techniques called active listening techniques. I think active listening is one of the most efficient ways that we have to communicate to other people that you value them. And for some people on the call, you might have had a lot of experience with these, and others, they might be new. When I heard about Laura Shill's 36 questions piece, what I imagined about it was that she was trying to give people a taste of another world, one where it's the norm for people to have regular, everyday experiences of connection and respect rather than alienation. And I think the reason that listening and conferring respect needs to be a priority for us is that we know that we're part of a culture that systemically devalues people. One that's actually built on the idea that some people are valuable and some people are not. This is the heart of all the isms. This is the heart of racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, classism. This idea that some people deserve to be heard and some people don't, that some people deserve respect and some people don't, that some people have something to teach and some people don't. And active listening is one of the most powerful tools that we have to push back against that and to not just say to people, oh, I respect you, but actually prove to them that we do. So we're going to jump in and talk about the techniques. One thing I just want to say about it, oh, where did my cursor go? Is that I'm going to, oh, this is in the way. Some people are handout people and some people are like distracted by handouts people. So to satisfy everyone, I'm going to show slides where we can all look at the same thing at the same time. At the end of the workshop, I'm going to give you a link to a handout that has the content from the slides so that you can review it later if you want. All right, so I'm saying, okay, listening is great to do, but I think that why it works, why it's effective is that it communicates these two big goals. And the first goal is to communicate, I see you, you are not invisible to me. And the second goal is to communicate, I'm curious about you, I want to understand you, and I want you to change my life. Why won't the keys work? That's interesting. I guess I have to click while I'm doing it. One of the big ways that you can communicate, I see you, is to say what you see. And one of the big ways that you can communicate, ooh, wow, this is really, the mouse is alive, is to ask questions. So a way that you can say what you see is to use perception phrases. So these are some examples of perception phrases. Looks like you had a rough day. Seems like you have some reservations about this. It sounds like what I'm hearing is, what it seems to me, etc. Okay. So what I want you to do now is put in the chat some feelings words. So I'm going to say this sentence in the style of an emotion. And what I want from you is some different options for feelings words. So put some in the chat. Okay, great words. Okay, so yeah, let's get a few more in there. Oh yeah, look at these, great, okay. So I'm gonna pick one and I'm gonna say it in the style of that emotion. All right, ready? And then Joe stopped by our apartment with photos of his baby. Okay, put in the chat, which one do you think I picked? Oh man. Sorry about this. Something's going on that's making it go crazy. Okay. Yeah. You got it. Yep, you got it. I picked dejected and your guesses in the chat are right on. Okay, how did you figure it out? So put in the chat now, what were you doing to figure out which one I picked? Yeah, my sigh, the tone of voice, how I was breathing, my body language, yep, my vocal tone. Yes, great. My facial expression, you looked at the slide. I know, I gotta get this mouse under control. This is a mysterious thing that hasn't happened before where it's getting a mind of its own. Yes, when you're doing this, when you're saying what you see, you're gonna use both the verbal content and you're also gonna use all of those non-verbal cues, like how someone's breathing, their facial expression, you got it. Okay, mouse. Stay calm there, mouse. There we go, just one slide. Some of you might also do group facilitation of different kinds. And when you're doing group facilitation, all the techniques I talk about in this workshop work the same way. When you're the facilitator, though, you are paying attention to two layers. You're working both to see the individual. So that might sound like saying to an individual, Sarah, it sounds like there were some parts of this proposal you have reservations about. Other times you're working to see the group as a group body. So that might sound like, seems like we're getting closer to making a decision. To me, what a facilitator is comes from the root word facile, which means easy. So to me, the facilitator is the one who makes things easier. And that's what, when you're a facilitator, you are using these techniques to make easier, making it easier for every person in the group to see every other person is there, and also making it easier for people to see that groups have a group shape. The other way that you can say what you see is to use playback. And one way that you can play back what you hear is to repeat what you hear. So let's say you got on the Zoom and you wanted to know how I was doing, how my day was. And I said, oh, well, I went out to the store and I decided I was going to try to take the bus. And when I was running to the bus, it pulled up and went through a puddle and splashed me. And it had started raining. I didn't bring my umbrella. So one thing you could do is just repeat what I said. Oh, so first you got caught in the rain and then you got splashed by the bus? Okay, so this might sound a little weird to just say what I just said, but what would be some of the benefits of doing that? So put in the chat, what would be the benefit of just saying what I just said? Yeah, then you know I'm listening. It confirms that I heard it. It buys time. So true. Supportive. Yeah, it helps the person feel heard. Yeah, great. It clarifies that you heard me. Yeah, that you're present, you have clarity. I love it. The other thing that you could do is to summarize what you heard. Oh, kid, I love that. You can show sympathy without thinking. Yeah, it's like a simple way where just by repeating it back, you show sympathy. You can also summarize what you heard. So let's say I was like, oh, I got splashed by the bus and it was raining. I didn't have my umbrella. You could say, sounds like you had a rough morning. And somebody actually put that in the chat. Sounds like a challenging day. Yeah. Okay, back in the chat, what would be the benefits of picking that approach to playback? Why summarize? It's faster, yeah. Sometimes if someone said a lot, it helps wrap up that thought. Yes, it shows that you're thinking with them. It lets the other person kind of get their breath. Playback can seem sarcastic. It's more concise. It shows kindness. It reflects what's important. Yes, it doesn't seem like a robot. Yes, so this is one of the really interesting things about all these techniques. This is the good news and bad news part of it. I don't know whether this is good news or bad news, but there is no one right technique with active listening. The other thing is that the techniques, as you will see, are really simple, but there is endless complexity about how we choose to use them. So for example, one of the things that I think is really interesting is that I suspect that one of the factors about when we choose to paraphrase by repeating versus by summarizing has to do with like closeness and intimacy. So some people, if you just repeat back exactly what they said, they will get really annoyed. And some of you in the chat alluded to this. Some people, if you say back exactly what they said, they'll be like, don't do that social worker crap with me. They'll think you're being really annoying. Other people though, if you summarized what you heard, it sounds like you had a rough day. They'll say, don't you tell me how I feel. So our job always when we're doing listening techniques is to be like Sherlock Holmes. Basically, we are tentatively trying a technique and then trying to look at the person's body language to see if they feel listened to in their own set of preferences based on what we did. So again, as I said, my guess is that part of what is going on when that's happening is that for some people, if you summarize, it feels like you are overstepping a boundary. So if you don't know somebody very well, or if you're in a high conflict situation, you might choose to really tightly repeat and paraphrase because what you're communicating is, hey, I'm not analyzing you. I am simply confirming that I heard what you said. That's it. If you have a lot of closeness with somebody, you might want to choose to summarize to show closeness with them, to say, I'm engaged, I'm thinking and elaborating on what you're saying. Other people will hate both of these techniques unless you are also sharing something about yourself. So other people will think you're being really weird if you're not also sharing something about yourself. So again, with all of these, we're just being detectives. We're going to try a technique. We're going to see how it went. The other thing that we can do to play back is to clarify what we heard. So you can clarify around the plot points. Like, wait, did you get splashed when you were getting on the bus or when you were getting off? You can also clarify about the holistic meaning. So you could say, sounds like you had a rough morning, but I don't know, maybe it was refreshing to get caught in the rain. How was it? What are benefits of clarifying? So put in the chat, what is the benefit of clarifying? Yeah, it shows you want to know more. It doesn't make assumptions. It establishes the facts. Yeah, they feel heard, very respectful, meets them where they are. Yeah. Yeah, it shows a lot of engagement and caring. It acknowledges other is other. Yes, Mac. It gives somebody the option to feel differently. Yeah, so, I mean, we're not psychic. So why would we know for sure exactly what somebody else means when they're talking? So clarifying is acknowledging something very human, which is that we don't actually know always what somebody means when they're talking. It also conveys a lot of respect to clarify. It's communicating it really, really matters to me to accurately understand what you're telling me. That can be especially important if you're talking to somebody who's used to getting disrespected a lot. So kids get disrespected a lot. I was talking to one of my sister's kids, and they were playing like a baking game, basically, where there was like some kind of like blueberry oven situation. So I clarified. I said, do all of the bakes go in the oven or just the blueberry one? It's like asking somebody about their work on an esteemed panel. So yes, actually only the blueberry ones. So it's a way that you can convey a lot of respect and interest. The other thing that is helpful about clarifying is that when I talk about privileged identities, what I'm talking about is any identity that has like an advantage in society, advantage on a big, big scale of institutions and systems. So that includes things like being cisgender, being born with class privilege, being white, being male, etc., things like that. So one of the privileges also that goes along with any one of those privileged identities is being encouraged to universalize our experiences. So one of the ways that we know that is, for example, on a sitcom, like a normal sitcom apartment is a really, really fancy apartment. Or a normal sitcom family is like a white, straight family, and any other kind of sitcom character, it's like a wacky sitcom, if that's the focus of the sitcom. So it's one of the ways we know that that's just how culture works, where if you have a dominant identity, you're encouraged to universalize that experience. And a really concrete way that we can push back is to clarify, because part of what it communicates, if you have any privileged identity, is, hey, I know that I only know about my own life. And I wouldn't know about someone else's life unless they told me. And that's also part of what clarifying communicates. The other thing that we can do when we're playing back is to listen for the 3 layers. One of the layers is facts. So facts is like the who, what, where, why, when. We can also listen for feelings. And this group did so great when you had the feelings in the chat. You came up with a lot of great feelings words. So you would know what they are. The third one is underlying human needs. So this is one that is really interesting. This concept shows up across disciplines. It shows up in sociology, religion, psychology. It shows up across them. We don't have to get into all like the theories about this. There's like Maslow's hierarchy. There's all these different theories. We don't have to talk about that today. Today, what we're concerned with is the idea that maybe there are some things that every human being needs. So you can see I put on the slide some examples. Put in the chat some more. What are some things that maybe every human being needs? Yeah. Validation, to feel competent. Coffee, I definitely need that. Empathy, water, connection, dignity, belonging, affirmation, touch, community. Yeah, these are great. These are really great. Oh, let me actually go back one. Okay, so before we do the exercise, I want you just to practice with me all together. So I'm gonna do like just a really short made up story, and I want you to listen for the 3 layers. Okay, so here's the story. This is a tale. Listen, I went to Jenna's party, and when I got there, she was in the kitchen talking to Greg, and she didn't even say hi to me. And I was like, we've been friends for 7 years, and you don't even say hi to me? Okay, what are the facts you heard? Put it in the chat. At a party, Jenna's party. I went to Jenna's. Jenna didn't say hi. Yeah. Yes. talking to Greg, friends for 7 years. Yes. What were some of the feelings that you heard? Not even one word. Upset, annoyed, hurt, disappointed, mad, bothered, surprised. Yes. And what do you imagine might be some of the underlying human needs that were animating those feelings? So I learned this like a volcano shape. So the lava is the feelings, the volcano is the underlying human needs. A need to be seen, recognition, connection, valued, acknowledgement, connection. Yeah. Validation, appreciation, love, understanding. Yes, you got it. Okay. So here's what I want to just put a pin in here. That was like a made up 3-sentence story. And there was a lot there. Like, you actually heard me telling you about my deepest feelings and human needs. And one of the things that I believe is that anytime a person is around you, they're telling you about their deepest feelings and human needs. And you have the opportunity to hear them and to help them hear themselves. And this is actually one of the coolest things that we can do for one another. So I want to try it right away while it's still in our minds. We're going to go into breakout rooms. We're going to be in groups of 4. If your group doesn't have exactly 4, that's fine. That's okay. Put an asterisk in front of your name. Click on the 3 dots and put an asterisk in front of your name if you don't want to be put in a group. So if you do not want to do the exercise, just indicate with your name. When you get into the groups, you're going to assign these jobs. You're going to assign one person to listen for facts, one person for feelings, one person for needs. One person's going to be a storyteller. Tell a story about just anything in your life that is unresolved. You haven't gotten it totally sewed up yet. After the storyteller's spoken, the facts person will play back just the facts, the feelings person just the feelings, the needs person just the needs. And then the speaker will give feedback first. You can say if there's anything you would adjust about the paraphrasing, and then the rest of the group can share. I want you to try to get through at least 2 rounds. You're going to be in the group for 15 minutes. You can try to like go around the bases and give everyone a turn if you want, but also feel free to not get to everybody. That's okay. Your group can use the time how you want, but I want you to switch roles at least one time. Okay, any questions about the exercise before we try it?
I'm just moving everyone to who doesn't want to be a part of the breakout room to one breakout room so that
Feedback, yes.
you can do that. So I'm just rearranging everybody real quick. So if Pippi, if you can kill just 1 more minute of time.
Yeah, no problem. Oops. Is this the slide that you want? Yeah, that's the slide you wanted. Anybody else have a question about the exercise?
Hello.
Hello.
It's me, Joanne.
Oh, hi,
I don't know
Joanne.
how to, hi, I don't know how to say that I don't want to be in a chat room.
Oh, I think you just said it.
Noted.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm having a lot of,
Here, I'm gonna put an asterisk next to your name for you. Now you have one. Thank you. Okay.
trouble with our internet, and it's with our internet, and it's with our internet, and it's Wait.
Oh wow, yeah. It sounds like you were calling from outer space. During the break, I'll try to help you with that.
I need to be out.
Do you think, Sarah, the group's ready?
They are just about ready. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to make them as close to 4 as I can. Okay, I think so. Oh, hold on 1 second. And for all of you folks who are not interested in being a part of a room, I have tried to put you all in one big room, so you're free to just not participate in that room together.
All right, so you'll be there for 15 minutes and we'll send you a message to let you know when there's 5 minutes left and then 1 minute. All right, we'll see you soon.
Okay, here we go. All right. If there's anyone here who wants to be in a room, change their mind, you can message me privately and I will put you in one. And if not, I'm going to turn off my camera and I'll see you all back here in a few minutes.
Sarah, I'm just setting a timer, so I'll let you know when it's time to send a message to the group.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you.
They're back.
Hi.
Hello.
Oh, we're not the only ones back. Whoops.
Hi, everybody.
We are all back.
Yeah, so, let's see. Once everyone's back.
Back in the war room.
All right, I'm going to mute everybody. Mute all. Oh, that's so nice. I want to go back to my group. Oh, that's so nice. Ooh. So let me know how'd it go? How are your groups? I'm going to put up a slide with some reflection questions. It's people who, oops, it's doing it again. This mouse, go back. All right, so people who told the story, what was that like to have your story played back? What did you notice about it? Oh, I love seeing the appreciation to the groups. It was validating, I felt connected, empowering, wow. I feel like my listeners got where I was coming from. Vulnerable, Helped me to process, and I loved it, that's awesome. Yeah, you just saw similarity between what was going through, validating, supporting, this is great. So also, did you notice anything about when you were the listeners? Did you notice anything about paraphrasing or trying the different jobs? Like, did anybody notice that you preferred one layer over another? True conversations where it's at. You preferred underlying needs. It was nerve-wracking. Facts was easiest for Abby. So this is something that's kind of interesting. Some people's brains listen equally to all three layers. Oops. Why? Okay. Some people's brains listen to all three layers. Some people notice that they have an area of strength. So for example, some people are like facts people, where they can remember like what t-shirt someone was wearing in like 1979, but they will miss all kinds of emotional content. Other people, like my mom, is a feelings genius. So she's in the grocery store, she'll be like, and see a stranger and be like, you there, by the lettuce, you feel slight regret. And she's totally right, but she really struggles with facts. So if I called and said, I think I'm gonna try to come visit, I'm gonna get there on Thursday, she'll call back and say, so you're coming Sunday? That's great. Sometimes it really doesn't matter at all to have an area of strength. Other times it can cause all kinds of problems. Yeah, and in the chat, people are talking about, like Marina, you're saying sequence is hard for me. Yeah. I think it's really helps us to think about trying to do all three. If you know that you have an area of strength, cue yourself to listen for the ones that are hardest for you. So if like feelings are hardest for you, say to yourself, okay, listen for feelings, because your brain will take care of your areas of strength. We just never know. You know, like some people, if you get their cat's name wrong, like you get the facts wrong, they're like, I'll never trust you again. And other people, if you get every fact right, but there's something about their emotions that you didn't pay attention to, they will feel that way too. So what we're trying to do is basically see if we can get all the three radios on at the same time. So I want to go over to the other side. At the beginning, I was saying there are these two big goals in listening. One is to communicate, I see you, you are not invisible to me. And the other is to communicate, I'm curious about you, I want to understand you, and I want you to change my life. And so the way we communicate, I'm curious about you, is to ask questions. This seems pretty straightforward, except that some questions are fake questions. So here's an example of a fake question. Did you have a great time at the party? Okay, what does that actually, what are the statements that are actually hiding in there? Yeah, it's a leading question. You must have loved the party. You should have had fun. Yeah, totally. So what we're trying to do, yeah, wasn't it great? We're trying to ask open questions. And what an open question is questions that have no guesses in them about what the other person is going to say. But this is actually pretty hard to do because our brains are designed to make guesses. So we're trying to find these open questions that have no guesses. Here's some examples. You know, how are you doing? How was your day? Just like how we can paraphrase in the 3 layers, people also often speak in the 3 layers. So if you're talking to a facts person, you can like support their holistic thinking by asking them, how'd you feel about that? If you are talking to like a feelings and needs person, you can ask them a sequence question. What happened next? So it's another way we can just be supportive of people while we're listening. The other thing is that, as I said, the challenge around this is that our brains are designed to make guesses, which means that when people are trying to connect, a lot of times our brains will reach for guesses. So sometimes I'll hear people ask kids this question: what do your mom and dad do? So what are some of the guesses that are in there? Yeah, the parents are straight and you have a mom and a dad and they're employed and you have a relationship with them. Yeah, all this kind of stuff. I think that a lot of times when people are doing that, what they really want to say is like, what's your deal, kid? Like, why are you you? Like, people are trying to get at that. We don't always get taught from an early age how to ask people about their lives. So it's like people are trying to kind of get to like, hey, what was it like for you growing up? Like, where did you come from? The other thing that's hard about this is that in the course of just talking, there can be things that people will say in a conversation that shut down possibility about what someone else's life has been like in a way that makes it hard for them to keep talking with us honestly. So for example, when it gets to be November, a lot of times I'll start hearing a lot of, November, everybody loves Thanksgiving. So one of the words that works like this is the word everybody. And there's a lot of guesses in there that everybody celebrates Thanksgiving, that everybody who celebrates it likes it, you know, blah, blah, blah. There's like kind of an implied one about family that's kind of an overtone in that one. And there are all of these other, Daria's like, and I hate turkey, so don't even get me started on Thanksgiving. There's all these other words that work like everybody, that shut down possibility. Nobody, always, never, all. You people is another one. Sometimes we works like that. Oh, we love Thanksgiving here. We love it. Here in Denver, we love Thanksgiving. And Daria's like, I don't. And Eileen's saying, these sound classist. Yeah, because they're kind of making kind of broad strokes about everybody's experience. What we're trying to do is to leave wiggle room in the way that we talk for a really big range of human experience. And one of the ways that we do that is to use modifiers, which are words that leave room for people to exist and be different from each other. So here are some examples. Some people, sometimes, in some situations. You can also use the some, which is my personal favorite. Some people love Thanksgiving. Some people don't celebrate Thanksgiving. Some people celebrate it and hate it. Now I must go. So it's a way that you can acknowledge, I heard that, I want to respond to that everybodying that was happening, but to not totally take it on. So the some is helpful. I put on this slide often, most, many in italics because they are also modifiers, but they're stronger than some people sometimes. So when you use them, just really make sure you mean it. Like I'm in New York right now. I think I really mean it if I say many people in New York City don't own cars to get around. I think actually in that case, I mean it. But it's like, just check for a minute before you use a stronger modifier. Do I really mean it? Or do I actually mean some, which has a little more space? The other thing that sometimes happens is that people will take out the word everybody and they'll put in the name of an identity group. So you might hear somebody say something like, Brazilians are so friendly. So that's not true. Some Brazilians are friendly and some are grouchy, just like all human beings. There's a lot of variation between each of us and how we are. I heard one day some kind of older men who looked to me like kind of grandparents' age, they were talking about kids. They were saying, kids, you can't get them off of their iPads. So there's a lot of guesses in there that about kids and technology, about young people and technology, that adults don't like technology. And also an assumption about class, which is that all kids have iPads. So my guess is that probably what they were trying to get at, I mean, I'm just making this up, is that their brains were trying to get at really an I statement, which is, I'm not sure how to relate to a young person in my life who's often on their iPad. So I is also another modifier that lets us talk about all kinds of things and leave room for everybody else. I love Thanksgiving. That's a great thing. It's a great way to say that, you know? Part of why I've also heard people say things about women, you know, that, so for example, I heard somebody say, women, they love the movie Love Actually because they love romantic comedies. So I don't like that movie. And also I don't like romantic comedies. So let's try, just as a thought experiment, put in the chat, how could you talk about fandom of romantic comedies and leave room for me to exist? How could I continue to exist if you wanted to talk about people liking romantic comedies? Put it in the chat. Some people like rom-coms. Rom-com fans love rom-coms. That is so true. Some people like romantic comedies. I love rom-coms. Oh yes. Oh, so many people love romantic comedies. I don't personally like them. Yes. Stars. You're all stars. Great job. You were talking about it, and yet I still exist. Yes. Oh, so there's two ones I just want to pull out. One is all my girlfriends love and some women I know. There's a category of sentence starters that is basically in my experience. So if somebody will say, in my experience, women love romantic comedies. I just want to star that one because a lot of times in my experience secretly means everybody. So if you want to say in my experience, say I. Or check with yourself, what am I talking about when I say in my experience? So just check a little bit if you want to try using that one. The reason that this is important is because, well, let me check. Has anyone ever on this call been everybodied? And what I mean by that is, have you ever had that experience where you hear somebody say the name of an identity group you're a part of, and they say a generalization that's not true about you? Have you ever had that happen? You can just sort of wave a weary hand or put a yes, 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 yes. Let's see the yeses. How did it feel? I see a so annoying. Yeah. Yes. Very icky. Jess, a lesbian who doesn't like indigo girls. Stop the Zoom. Yeah. Claustrophobic, triggering, invisible. Yes. About Thanksgiving. Yeah, it feels bad. And part of why it feels bad is that when people everybody us, what they're doing is just kind of revealing something about themselves to you. What they're showing is they're saying, I can't imagine your experience. There's actually not even room for you in my imaginative life. That's how much I can't picture your life. It feels really bad. Yeah, Marshall, it denies individuality. It also feels worse the more you care about somebody or the more power they have over you. So it is worse if it's your parents, and it's worse if it's your boss. So I want to just share with you a simple tool you can use so that nobody you know has to feel this way around you, which is that if you say the name of an identity group followed by a generalization, just grab your face and shake your face until a modifier comes out. Because nobody you know has to feel that way about you. Nobody you know. The other thing, though, that I just want to add is that I mess this up all the time because, again, our brains are designed to shortcut and make guesses. I mess it up all the time. I messed it up really spectacularly one time. I ran for a long time a camp for kids. and I would have like an intake when the kids arrived. So these two kids who were siblings who I knew got out of a car, this other kid I don't know, the parents who I know of the two kids I know, they walk up and they come to sit down to have the intake meeting with me. I said to the kid I don't know, who's with the sisters I do know, "Oh, you drove up together. How long have you been friends?" And this kid I don't know just collapses. Like I had like punched her in the stomach. She's just like, ah. And the parent said, "She's their sister. She doesn't look like them because she was adopted from China, but this is their sister." And I was like, why? Because this was the first time that this kid had ever been away from home. This was the first thing that happened to her at this camp. And I'm the boss of the camp. So what I said to her was, "I am so sorry. I made a guess about you and I was totally wrong. I'm so sorry." And luckily I had time to repair my relationship with her. So I got to really prove to her that I wanted to know about her and that I cared about her. But why I'm telling this story is that I mess this up all the time. Our brains are fighting for us to mess this up all the time. When you mess this up, my advice to you is to keep going, like keep talking. So if you're like, "Everybody loves Thanksgiving," I'm sorry, I don't know about your life. What are you doing this November? Like keep going, don't freak out. And also, it's never too late to try to apologize. So it's okay to call someone like months later and be like, "Hey, I said that thing and I woke up at night thinking about it. And I don't know if you even remember it mattered, but I want to apologize. I'm sorry." Because sometimes it won't matter and people don't have to forgive you. But once in a while, it'll save a relationship that you remembered and that you want to make it right. The other thing I want to add about this is that sometimes at this point in the workshop, people will say, "What about though, like patterns? Like, how do I talk about like cultural patterns?" So I want to just speak to that. This is like the 201. So if you want to talk about cultural patterns, you use a math problem where you talk about systemic factors, historical context, and you add a modifier. So I'm going to give an example. I am Jewish, so I'm going to use an example about Jewish identity. So everybody would be saying something like, "Jews, they love food, all of them." If I wanted, though, to talk about Jews and food, here's a way that I could do it with this math problem. In Jewish tradition and history, there are a lot of rituals that involve food. If you talk to a contemporary Jewish person, some people will say, "Yeah, that actually is an important way of how I relate to that culture." Some people will say, "That's not really how I relate to my identity." Gotta go. So that's part of how you can talk about patterns. You're focusing on systems and histories and not individuals. Oh yeah, Joanna's saying some people intentionally will try to exclude or be mean. Yeah. Yeah, that's part of how all the isms work, is that sometimes people are expressing actually a belief that they have. Sometimes it's an accident, so sometimes people are like, "Yeah, I think all women are the same." Other times it's an accident where somebody says it and they didn't mean to. What we control is ourselves and the things we control in the world. So with all of the active listening practices, they're practices that we take on. Sometimes we can convince other people to do them, and sometimes we can't. And that's also part of thinking about how change works. This is a conversation I've been talking about a lot this week. I find it to be, yeah, so people are saying it's hard to talk about things without, oh, Shana, you're saying, you mean, would I repeat the statement where I was giving an example of the math problem? It was Shana or Shana? In the formula, yeah, okay, I'm gonna say the formula one more time. I'll go back to the romantic comedies example. In US history, there has been a long history in normative culture, in the mainstream culture, that a lot of people who are raised female are taught that they should care more about feelings and relationships, that that's a way to be a female person. So if you talk to somebody who identifies as female now, some people will say, yeah, that actually is a big part of my life and personality. And one of the ways that shows up for me is that I love romantic comedies. I like them more than other kinds of movies. Other people would say that doesn't really describe me. Okay, so that's another example. Okay, so I want to make sure we get to some of these other techniques. The other thing I want to talk about, we've been talking a lot about words. You're also going to use your whole body to show people that you're listening to them. So you're also going to use nonverbal techniques. And this slide is showing some of them. You might make sounds like, you might nod, smile to communicate, I like listening to you. I want you to keep talking. The other thing you can do is to open your body up. So to uncross your arms and legs and expose the core of your body. What that can also be connected to is something called high status body language. Yeah, I'm going to explain now what that is. So high status body language is based on the research of this scientist, Amy Cuddy. This research now has drama. So I'm going to explain the research and then the drama and controversy about it. So the research is that she had people do what's called high status body language, which is making your body big and exposing the core of your body. So like also called power posing. She had them do these poses and took blood samples before and after. She also had them do low status body language, which is crunching up around the core of your body, making your body small. And what she found when she took the blood samples is that when they held the body poses for just 2 minutes, the level of cortisol, which is stress hormone in the blood, went way down when people had high status body language. So the theory is that why that's true is our connection basically to animals, that the center of our body is where our organs are. So when you show your organs to someone, it can communicate a lack of fear, like when dogs show their tummies. And it can also communicate, a lack of anxiety. So why that can be helpful for us in listening is it can communicate to people, it's okay to tell me whatever you need to tell me. I'm not going to get grossed out. I'm not going to run away. I can handle it. It's okay. The drama about the research was that her co-researchers said that there were flaws in the study design. So I don't know really if the study is still, valid, but I think from like a performance standpoint, that still makes sense to me. Other things you can do is stop doing other activities. You can also do something called mirroring, which is just taking on a little bit of somebody's vocal tone and body language into your own body. So it means you're nodding when someone's nodding, you're smiling when they're smiling. Sometimes you might see an example of when this goes wrong. Like if a really shy person is greeted by a very gregarious person and someone will be like, hey, how's it going? And you'll see the shy person get a little smaller. So mirroring would be communicating with your body. I see that you're here and it's actually changing my body language. So you might go up to them and say instead, make your body a little smaller and talk a little quieter. So you might say, hey, how's it going? Just a little smaller, just mirroring them. One of the things though about all of these is that there are different cultural starting points about what we get taught as children about what a normal way to act with our bodies is when we're listening. Okay, I'm about to do the math problem that I was just doing on the other slide. So in different cultures, there are different cultural norms around things like making eye contact or about how close you're supposed to stand. However, within even families, people who are raised in the exact same culture, in the same family, there can be different preferences about how people prefer that you hold your body when you're listening to them. So for example, some people don't feel really listened to unless you have like a perpendicular body, unless you're making strong, like perpendicular eye contact. Other people, it's overstimulating if you make strong eye contact. Some people are riding in the car people, which is that they will only open up if you are sitting next to them, like facing the same direction in a car. That's like the positioning that makes them feel more comfortable. Other people, if you were sitting like that, they'd feel like you weren't listening. So again, you're just trying to be a detective and try out how you use your body to listen and see how it goes. The other thing about this is that listening is really only one way of communicating. So just to be clear, sometimes you're going to be doing other things. Sometimes you need to teach a class or you have to confront somebody. Sometimes it's not safe to listen. If somebody is harassing you, you don't have to listen to that. If you're in a situation where you are really disempowered or you're being harmed, yeah, that's not a time to listen. That's a time to really focus on staying safe and doing what you need to do. If you have a listening conversation, a non-listening conversation, I just want you to do it on purpose, like to know why you're not listening. And the other thing is some non-listening conversations just are more successful when we integrate listening. So when we're teaching a class, if we also listen, if we are confronting someone, if we also listen, it helps it go better. So yeah, and sometimes it can be tough virtually to do all of these things. So sometimes you're going to be not listening and it will be on purpose. And other times you might be not listening, but it's not on purpose. And if that's happening, try asking yourself, what is hard for me right now? Am I having a hard time seeing or a hard time being curious? So if you can come up with lots of open questions, but you are having trouble playing back what you're hearing, you might be having a hard time seeing. And one thing you can ask is just, is anything competing for my attention? Like if I am hungry, I have a hard time listening. Sometimes I have to say, can I eat a snack and call you right back? You know, so if something is distracting you, just try to deal with it to make it easier to listen. Sometimes though, you might notice that it's a pattern for you, that it's hard for you to paraphrase or see what's going on. Listening is like athletic ability or all these other kinds of things that are part of being a person. We're born with an amount of kind of naturally easy or naturally hard for us that it is, and we can also move in our range by practicing. So if it is just kind of naturally hard for you to paraphrase, practice. So you can practice by asking a lot of clarifying questions. You can use a verbal cue to help with nonverbal perception. So you could put a little sticky on your computer that says, look at their body language. You can also watch TV with the sound off and try to guess if you got the feelings right. However, you might also find, well, you're paraphrasing, it's very accurate, and what really is hard for you is you're having a hard time coming up with open questions. If that's happening, you might be having a hard time feeling curious. So just put in the chat, what do you imagine might be some of the reasons why a person might have a hard time feeling curious? Yeah, it's too much going on in their lives. They don't care. Thinking about something else. Someone's mansplaining. Yeah. Tired, fatigued, worried about something else. You don't want to be in the conversation. Stressed. Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot of reasons that people might not feel curious. If you are having a hard time feeling curious, do not ignore that feeling. Because a lot of times it's a clue about our own underlying unmet needs. It can be a clue about things that we are needing and not getting. This is the other reason why these techniques are really simple, but they can potentially be really profound in our lives. is that to practice active listening, we can ask the question, what would need to be true about my life for me to have room to feel curious about other people? So just ask yourself that. If you feel comfortable, put some things in the chat. What would your life need to be like? What would need to change in your life for you to feel like you had a lot of room to be curious about other people? Certainty in the future. Yeah, wow. Feeling safe, good self-image, having conversations with strangers, good self-care and boundaries, work-life balance, having a fulfilling life. Yeah. Knowing that my basic rights and those of others are being met. No COVID. Yeah. So do you see how this works? Balance, trust, self-esteem, having your stuff together, feeling calm. Active listening, part of what's transformational about it, these techniques, is that it goes right to the heart of what we might be needing and not getting as human beings. So again, if you notice, I don't feel curious, don't ignore that feeling, because one of the truths about human needs is that they're non-negotiable. We have to get them met. We need them. You need to have the things that you would need to have in order to feel curious about other people. And so when you feel that way, you're getting a direct message about what you're needing and not getting. Yeah, needing a brain break, not just surviving. Yeah. So just think for a minute. What do you think are going to be difficult for you to put into practice? What's going to be the hardest for you about this? What do you think you would need in order to try the techniques? Just think about that for a minute. And just put in the chat, if you're comfortable, what do you think is going to be hardest for you about this? And what would you need? You need practice, bravery, confidence, vulnerability, good boundaries, to detach from the situation if it doesn't go as hoped, patience, not judging others, feeling open when I'm triggered, space to get it wrong. Yeah. Yeah, having video meetings, asking these questions, grace, the 4 agreements, self-awareness, slowing down, making mistakes. Yeah. So I want to just talk through 4 reasons why I think it's really worth it to work on these things. I think that these techniques are extremely hard. Paradoxically, they get easier when we practice, and they also remain very difficult. And I was actually reflecting this week. I wrote this workshop in 2001. And so it's been with me for a long time. I have been practicing for a long time. Man, these techniques are so hard still for me, because they just really challenge me to do them in different situations. And I still think that they are totally worth it. So I'm a professional listener. I do leadership coaching and life coaching, which means I listen for my job all day long. Even if it wasn't my job, these are still the most useful things that I know how to do. If I could only remember how to do one thing that I know how to do, it would be this. And I want to just explain why I think that it's so worth it to struggle with them. The first reason that I think the techniques are really worth it is that they're really efficient. They communicate this really big abstract goal, which is to tell another person that you value them. So if we wanted to make a world where all people were valued and respected, we could, build a bronze statue of a person that said, like, I respect people, but it would be expensive, it would take a while, and no one would care. because nobody wants us to do that. Listening communicates so much faster. I really, really want to understand you. I really value you. It's a really fast and cheap way to communicate that. The other reason why I think listening is effective is that's one of the only things that's completely within our power. There actually are a lot of things that we can change and influence in the world. And then there are some things that we just can't do for one another. We can't take away anybody else's suffering. There's a lot that we can't control. But being a witness to somebody else's life is one of the most powerful free gifts that you can give another person. And we totally control it. The other reason that it's effective is that listening speaks to one of our deepest human needs, which is to be seen and unconditionally valued. So as human beings, we have lots of different kinds of needs, and some of them we're really fluent at talking about, like I'm hungry, I'm bored, I'm tired. This need to be seen and valued, almost everybody feels, and it can be hard to talk about. So sometimes I'll see, and you can think about if in your life you've ever known somebody who you felt like could really see you, like that they could see your authentic self and they valued that person. And you can think about if there's anything that you would trade for that person in your life. And my guess is that there is not very many material things that you would trade for that person's presence in your life. Sometimes when people are interacting with kids, I'll see people kind of bargaining, like trying to see if there's like a toy or a treat or something that to give to kids. You just don't own anything that they want more than this. And this is something that actually all of us can understand, which is that there's nothing really more that we want than this either. The other reason why this is effective is that it decodes negative behaviors. So people do really bad and unskilled behavior when we're trying to meet our underlying unmet needs. And listening helps us figure out what's going on and also helps us meet that need. So a friend of mine taught kindergarten, and there was a kid named Carlisle in the class who started doing like bad things during a lot. So Carlisle would like make eye contact with the teachers and like drop all the markers. And my friend set the intention 5 times a day, I'm going to proactively say what I see or ask an open question. So put in the chat, what do you think happened to Carlisle's behavior? Yeah. The behavior completely stopped. So something that I'll hear people say about kids is, oh, they're just doing it for attention. Don't give it to them. I'm like, give it to them. Oh my God. Don't necessarily give them exactly what they're asking for. But when you meet people's underlying needs, that's what stops the behavior. And sometimes listening is not in and of itself what fixes the behavior. So if somebody's really hungry, if you listen to them, that doesn't actually deal with the needs. Sometimes listening helps us figure out what the underlying unmet need is. And sometimes when the need is to be seen and valued, listening itself changes the behavior. And the secret, of course, is that this is true for adults too. So when we're around adults who are acting out, who are misbehaving, this same principle applies, that sometimes it's listening to them that helps them transform how they are with us. So as we wrap up, I just want you, while it's still in your mind, oh, do you know what I forgot to put in the chat? Sarah, will you put in the chat the link to the handouts? So there's a party favor.
You bet.
So that you can review the material. I'm also going to just put in the chat now my email address so that if you want to find me after this, you can find me. So put in the chat, what's something while it's in your mind that you liked, that you want to remember, that you want to hold on to, that you want to try? And if that's hard to answer, you could also ask yourself, what's one technique we talked about tonight that you want to try in the next 3 weeks? Yeah, listening on 3 levels, the pyramid. Underlying needs, yeah. Witnessing is a gift. Guesses versus wiggle room, yeah. Oh, thanks, Michelle. Listening for underlying needs, yeah. Asking yourself, why can't I listen? Meeting the underlying needs fixes the behavior. Use the math formula, yeah. Yeah, the power to listen. So here's my contact info again. Stay in touch. Also, as I said, I do workshops like this, and I do one-on-one coaching with people in all parts of their lives. So get in touch if that's something you want to do, and you know somebody who might want to do that. I just want to thank all of you for participating. Groups are really different in terms of how they are in with this material and with the chat. This group rocked the chat. I loved hearing what you had to say. You're so great. What a really, really nice group of people. I'm really glad to know you. And I hope that I get to see everybody again. Oh, where did I lost the Zoom window. Thanks for coming tonight. All right, let me see. How do I get back? I lost the window. And thank you, Sarah and MCA Denver, for having me.
Well, thank you, Pippi, for providing this amazing resource and great workshop. What a gift. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for participating. I'm going to let you all leave slowly so you can copy whatever you need from the chat, and have a wonderful evening. Good night.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Pippi. Thank you.
Bye, Joey.
Bye, Pippi. You rocked it as usual.
Bye, Jess. So great to see your face.
Core love.
Oh, yeah.
Great work, Pippi. I'm going to be reaching out to you very soon, so look for it.
Oh, can't wait to hear from you. It was really nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, how do I? Thanks, Hillary.
Well, thanks, Pippi. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. This was so nice. What a great group.
It was a great group.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for
I
all
think
your
there's
help.
just a handful of people left, so I'm going to close it up.
Bye, Sarah. Thanks so much for your help.
Thank you, Pippi. Have a great night.
Thank you.